It's all going to be on him to position themselves because the bot lane is heavily behind. YUBI trying to frontline in. Brian goes down, but beautiful laser from Civillock is able to just open fire on the left side. Ultravox now firing arrows as much as he can.
The backside of the fight, Ultravox is going to take it quite low, but it gets traded out, and now Civillock trying to find more, but Leaves is so big, and the Hextech Soul makes it so difficult for anyone on YUBI to escape, and TDE may have just locked it up with a clutch steal from Leaves. Civillock doing everything he can to cut it out and gets a big shutdown on the Leaves. Civillock actually
Poor YOLO, they all just launched themselves in only to die. It's so sad to see. A Street Smurf even tagged. Civillock's going for more. He's trying to blow him up. Ace for YUBI. It's so clean, and it was delivered to them on a silver platter.
This is a big fight going over to the side of YOLO. Is this where a TDE is once again gonna drop the lead? Leaves picks up 2 and is able to get out alive with the E, and then now it's Jaffe 1 versus 3. This is the opposite of what he's been doing all game, but he's built, ready, and trained up for it.
Oh, and they got the revives.
And Smoke Swag trying to find the trade, but he's got the E back online. Jaffe is massive, and they're able to win that team fight.
Damage now, Antunes is the one in front. Brian Sang trying to find an angle. Jaffe is unstoppable, finds so much damage. Double kill from the barrel is going to be taken so low by Red, but not yet taken down. Now Utility Monster back in.
I don't think I didn't even notice it long enough. I saw Jaffe stepping up on somebody, and he just instantly gets the kill, like usual. Antunes once again getting caught out.
You got all of them.
A triple kill. Is Jaffe gonna get the penta solo?
I think
he's gonna drop. He's dropping the barrel.
Wait, what?
Gets the kill. Do not help him, Azir. Do not stop it. Stop it. Oh, they were trying to steal the penta.
Zen, dude.
Bandage toss going over the wall. Doesn't manage to catch him nothing. The curse of the Sad Mummy's going to get huge luck down. But look at that bullet time. Catching multiple members of TDE on the background. Antunes taking so much damage. He's going to get taken out of the equation. The Sad Mummy is gone. Fang over Fang picks up Ultravox as well. That is a huge fight that is going to be up.
Great hook. The flash away is going to be Twitch is going to manage to keep himself safe. The Aldo is coming through. So much damage coming onto this backline. Not enough as Jaffe's going to be forced to flash away. Orphix on the backline. Ultravox is going to die. All the kills is going to be there. And a masterful bait.
This is a good misfortune.
Unfortunately, it's going to be the choke point that proves to be the undoing of Team Eek as they see this huge ultimate from Misfortune just absolutely
deadly. And now we have Geico trying to run away. The Lucian looking to avoid getting caught, but unfortunately he's going to get stunned, knocked up, smited by the lightning bolts.
So if YUBI wants to win Season 6 and become the first team to win Mythic and Heroic, I think they need to shake off their self-doubts. It sounded like they had a lot of self-doubt in the middle of the season talking to them. And I'm not sure how much that was, but I think that's why we saw them get a little shaky around there.
SLR is one of the top 3 contenders. They are absolutely going to be crushing it across the board. And so I expect that whoever goes up against, it's going to be a very, very tough matchup, but there's a possibility of taking them down. It's just going to be a bit of a mountain to climb, a bit of a huge staircase to make sure they don't get tripped on and fall down on.
Love you, Brendan. I hope you do well. And I believe in you guys. I mean, not as much as YUBI, but I believe in you.
For TDE, and here comes Civillock flashing forward, disintegrating the members of TDE right before their eyes. 2 members fall. Another great flash up from Brian Sang locks down the jungler for TDE. No one falls from the side of YUBI as they're just going to disable the turret. Utility Monster just throwing it out. They're pushing in.
Going into the playoffs, I'm expecting either Civillock or Brian Sang to just kind of pull out a banger of a match. I'm not sure why, but both of these players are very, I don't want to say quiet because they play very loudly, but at the same time, their impact on these games is so understated that they are key pivot points for Universal Basic Income.
For SLR, the player I expect to step up the most would be Pure Llama. He has not been able to play in Mythic very much, and he had a relatively ungraceful exit in the first round of Heroic, despite being the best mid laner in Heroic. So I would like to see his revenge tour kind of come back in Mythic and show the dominance that he can kind of assert because he's insane.
I think what makes SLR a unique team is their approach to this season, and also like how they do shot calling. Like their shot calling is all Brendan. The rest of them aren't on it. It's just Brendan. Brendan makes the calls. He is directing the flow of the map. He is controlling everything like a commander controls his army. And, you know, the team, they don't practice as much as other teams, and yet they still manage to do well because of how good Brendan shot for them.
Guilty's getting burst down completely instantly, but if you weren't, look at the pace.
just
The
ending
pace
the
is
game.
gone. Nexus turret 1 is down. Orphic is just doing Orphic things. Why are they letting him do this? SLR is just holding them off, making sure that they don't back away. There's nothing they can do to stop it. The second Nexus turret is down, the Nexus is getting hit, and that is going to be game as SLR wins the split push and takes the game.
I do not think there is a world where we do not have YUBI in the grand finals. They are going to be a team that is just absolutely monstrous, and it's basically going to be a situation where we're not going to be looking to see them win. We're going to be looking to see who can even take them down.
Zenzen getting run down. Oh my god, so much damage. Llama wants him for dead, and he's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna go for Bob Joseph now. Hunting him down, gonna pick up the kill, goes dominating. Fang manages to pick up Leaves. They manage to grab Ultravox. Llama finally goes down, but I don't think it's gonna be enough. The kill goes to Javi, and now Javi's being hunted.
Zenzen with these rockets alongside Corky, and that is going to be huge as we see Warren fall. Red managing to pick them off one by one. Claw manages to find Llama. Llama's going to be cut out and burned away.
Too much here right now, though. Looks like he's about to get caught out. Now there's room for Ultravox to deal a lot of damage here. That Irelia is disgusting at this point, and is going to try and take this one 1 versus 3.
Really able to help him in that excursion, and now it's 5-on-4 advantage. Jaffe already chunked out. Bob Joseph goes in for one last ditch effort, but the disintegration ray just tears them apart. The front line is gone, and it's only Ultravox, it's only Spencer to defend against the remaining members of YUBI, but it won't even be a chance. YUBI, after getting knocked out prematurely, giving a chance at life once again in this tournament, will cement themselves back into the finals for FOF.
I'm Warrior. Join with me. It's my classic casting partner, Escape.
Yeah, we have a battle of good versus evil. I think it's really up to you about who you pick for each of them, because he can make a good story for both of these teams. These are both fan favorite teams with a bunch of fan favorite players. I think that there's gonna be positives, there's gonna be negatives, no matter what happens this set. But these two teams, I mean, obviously YUBI just came off of a fantastic series. They're looking very comfortable. Both of these teams had to beat TDE to get to finals, which is the kerfuffle that is this season. But it proves that they are both ready to be top caliber teams. We've seen that all season. First, lock Varus. I love it.
Have you watched Worlds? Because I watched Worlds, and Varus, nasty pick in that set. Gumayushi looked incredible on it. Nocturne is going to be the answer. Get that spell shield in for Utility Monster. Nocturne, a UB classic. They really like having those globals on lock, and Utility Monster and Civilock are really good at playing around them. Wouldn't be surprised to see if UB try and pair this with something like a Shen or one more global to support, but Tristana is going to be the lock-in to answer the Varus.
Yeah, interesting setup initially from SLR because they're gonna ban the Caitlyn away. Obviously, Jeff has been playing that a lot. It was heavily contested last night. But then they're gonna pick Varus, which is a relatively strong pick into the Caitlyn. That's where a lot of its value came from, and where it started popping up so much at Worlds is because you could afford to leave the Caitlyn up and still play Varus because he can deal with that laning matchup, or not as a great partner for it. But they're gonna take that away. The Tristana for the counter pick means aggression from Jeff God Gamer, and they played aggressive in game 1 yesterday. And it was their only loss. It did not look out of the bot lane, and they were playing into a Renata as well. So this is a mix of YUBI trying to improve on where their flaws were yesterday, trying to keep it aggressive, keep the pace up for the early game, and SLR paid attention, and they have locked some defensive options.
Yeah, and here comes that Galio hover. That's exactly what I was saying. They're going to get another global and utility monster in Civillock. Are nasty with this amount of map pressure. It's what they do best when it comes to League of Legends, and that's how YUBI want to start this set. They want to get around the map, they want to make huge impacts with their massive dive, and get on top of SLR's comp. But SLR, I like the response they've got so far. Zach isn't the best peeler in the world, but you do need a source of engage on your team, and Zach is going to do a great job whether he has to disengage or engage Renata. Going to keep that one man alive for another 2 extra seconds, and that could be all the difference. Is this Varus? I imagine it's going to be an attack speed Varus, and oh man, is Luvru going to pump out the damage on this one?
And Luvru is the best ADC in the league, bar none, at being in the right place in team fights. If you watch this guy position at any game, he is consistently causing problems. You look at 25, 30 minutes in, you're looking at team fights. Luvru is the centerpiece of this composition, always able to get so much done every single fight. Very rarely does he get picked. And Varus is a champion that requires that if you're playing the on-hit. He doesn't have the highest range available, and YUBI's looking to break that up with a lot of targeted dive options to try and get towards that backline. But they're really playing a single damage composition right now. They're really trying to protect Red's pick. So I'm curious to see if they want to try and play 1-4, and I think if they can put Red on a solid split pusher, that could break up what SLR wants to do with their 5v5.
Yeah, I'm really worried about the magic damage sources from the side of YUBI. The Blitzcrank pick, it makes some sense with the composition. I don't think it adds really any new dimensions to it, though, and it really pigeonholes Civillock into being like a really major magic damage dealer, or Red having to play something a little more magic heavy, or Zach is going to get to build armor all game. Aatrox, blind for anti, another champion that has been so gross, and I think we all know in our heart of hearts that passive nerf was nothing. This champion is still ridiculous.
Yeah, I think I love SLR's draft right now. They have a bunch of fantastic picks. The mid lane pickup for Pure Llama on that Syndra. That Syndra's ridiculous right now. I think Malphite is another engage tool. Really screams that YUBI wants to play 5v5s, but they are playing single damage carry onto Jeff God Gamer, and they're playing into a lane that's difficult to snowball into. So I think the Blitzcrank is a way to like try and force the option here, get that Nocturne down in the bot lane. YUBI has to see success out of Jeff God Gamer and Brian saying, otherwise this game will just quickly pool into SLR's pocket because they win the side lanes and they win the team fights.
Yeah, I think SLR got the power picks they want. They've got a pretty significant range advantage on their team. The Zach helps out quite a bit in that regard, and they just got a lot of the great champions on the current patch. But if there's one thing about YUBI, it's their ability to play together. And their composition is all united in one goal, which is go in and destroy somebody.
Yes.
And if YUBI can coordinate on that just right, I don't think the composition is going to matter.
Yeah, and I like this setup right here, trying to go immediately defensive, trying to make sure that YUBI doesn't have a way into the bot jungle here. They're worried about some early aggression. I respect that. YUBI's looking, and I think given that there's a Blitzcrank on the enemy team, you do have to be respectful as this type of option. YUBI has not been able to sniff it out, so there's not going to be any counter vision going down either, but SLR is going to feel uncomfortable walking into their topside jungle as soon as they roll out here at about a minute, I imagine, is when they're going to try to disperse a little bit. This game is kind of like a house of cards for YUBI, right? You're talking about they play so well together, and that is what has carried them, right? Even if they haven't been on their best performances, what gets them through every single game is that they can work together, they can find opportunities, they don't give up, and they're able to make those miracles happen. I think last season was a great example of that, where they really were one of the weaker early game teams in the league, and they were still consistently finding wins. So this is a team that you can't ever count out, and they need to be reliant on that. And I think knowing that SLR doesn't, or if they know that SLR isn't comfortable right now with their early game, that they don't have vision control, they can start to abuse that really quickly.
Yeah, I have to agree. And, we're sort of seeing a pretty generic clear when it comes to junglers so far. I think both of these junglers really want to opt into taking every single one of their camps. Neither of them want to be invaded, and neither of them are particularly good at doing so. So both Utility Monster and Fang over Fang going to be happy to have that early game. That being said, though, if one of them wants to get frisky, the Nocturne invade onto the Zac is very good. If Galio can get Prio, Civillock can get in there with Utility Monster, there's a lot of potential, but I don't expect anything to happen.
So Zac, are you worried about early game invades right now? Because Civillock is clearly playing for that push. I know that Zac is a weak jungler in the early game. Is that something you're afraid of from the Nocturne, or do you think that they know that they're clearing adjacent and they're not too concerned about it?
If I'm Fang over Fang in this game, it's definitely something that I've got on my radar. I'm sort of ready for the jump scare ghost. But I also know that I'm playing into Utility Monster, and of all the junglers in the league, is going to be the most likely to just clear every camp safely. Fang over Fang knows the enemy vision because of where Civillock was positioned in lane. Very, very intelligent move to not get spotted on those Raptors, and being in the dark there is going to have to make Civillock play a little more careful in that mid lane.
Yeah, and it's going to cause a lot of problems for SLR trying to track down the Zac, because obviously Zac is... We all know Zac for being able to gank from the weirdest spots ever. He can be sitting in the back brush and gank you under tower. Like, oh yeah, he has so much range available to him on his ganks. We know that Fang over Fang will look for lane ganks very often. He's happy to play supportive for the rest of his team, and with this Zac, he's going to be allowed to do that very effectively. And I think that he's probably going to have a look towards this bot lane as the hook does land.
Hook from Brian Sang goes in. The bomb is stacked, and Tep is low. Ignites down on Brian Sang, trying to get in there, but the Guardian needs a gem, has to go back in to get first blood. But now Fang over Fang here at the play is going to knock Brian Sang right up. Going to use that flash to get away. Piercing arrow coming through. Flash forward for Fang over Fang. Luru picks up the first one, and now Jeff's in trouble. But Luru caught under the tower, drops to 1 HP, and both AD carries barely get out alive. What a scrap in that bot lane.
Welcome to the Mythic Finals, everyone. It's not going to end right now. Utility Monster probably going to look for a little bit of aggression here on the anti. I think it's just going to be the fear coming through, a little bit of damage traded back. That piercing arrow was so aggressive from Luru, but he feels comfortable. He knows that there's no rocket grab available. He knows that he can walk right up there, finds both of them, and it is so close on both of those AD carries. But the fact that Luru has stayed in lane, pushed this in, if he can get away with this recall and get out of the way, that's going to put him so far ahead compared to this Tristana. And that first back means a lot right now for these AD carries just going into the 5-minute mark.
And that comes down to that combat summoner, right? Jeff God Gamer picking up Cleanse to go into that bot lane. No CC that you can cleanse actually lands on Jeff God at any point. And that just means that you're up a summoner advantage on Luru. That heal proving massive in his survival there. Could have been 2 for 1 YUBI, or even 2 for 0 YUBI if a summoner's choice is a little different.
I find no Anti's looking for blood right here. There's the flash burned out of red. And probably looking to either just shove this in or just play for the freeze here, which is going to set Anti very nicely in this top lane. I got to say, so far, me personally, not being the top lane connoisseur, I would expect the Aatrox to be pulling out a bigger lead right now. But Red's looked really comfy up there so far, hasn't really been put behind, and we've seen Malphite as kind of like an option into Aatrox in the past, especially in FWF. We've seen it a lot, and so far it's been very successful. Huge wave pickup here for Luru. That's really massive. So I want to know if Red's practiced this, if this is something that he was expecting to come out from Anti, because obviously these teams have had some time to prepare, and they they've played against each other throughout the season.
Tep has to be careful! The rocket grab lands on Tep, and he's not long for this world! Brian Sang finds the engage, and now Tep's trying to get out, but the minions say no! The bailout's gonna land, but it will in no way save Tep. Luru finds damage back, but that's another kill over to the Tristana.
Oh, missed opportunity there for Luru. I feel like if you can flash for that, you can get the kill on the Triss, get this wave pushed in, but Luru is deciding to save that, not make himself available to the Nocturne ganks, and I think if you've got the late game in mind, that's what you need, but this Tristana, I was worried about this lane getting shut down. This is such a strong defensive lane that Luru and Tep have right now. The wave clear is very, very strong. We're not as great at protecting her AD carry. But Brian Sang has just found those hooks, and now with a little bit of additional gold in the pocket of that Tristana, this is where YUBI needs to put their resources. Try and keep that bot lead going. It looks like we're going to have a scuffle for this top crab.
Yeah, both junglers in the area. Fang going for the steal is going to pick it up, wants to get away from that spooky ghost, is going to be forced to run away. Now Stretching Strikes misses. Anti gets to the play. Pure Llama has no mana to continue. Flash out from Utility Monster, but he's still in a rough place. The Uncle Shield finds nothing, and Pure Llama unleashing power all over YUBI's jungler.
Yeah, and there was such a big rotation there. I feel like YUBI had no idea what they were up against. I found it kind of odd that Utility Monster was going to walk down towards the mid lane there, and then Clovis doesn't rotate with the Galio. There's, I think, missed opportunity there, miscommunication. That's not what we expect to see really out of YUBI, but SLR is on the play instantly. They've got 4 people there to try and answer this, and look at Fang over Fang going to cause problems in the top lane.
They're playing the top lane, Unstoppable Force available for Red. Stretching Strike's going to force that one out in a successful gank for Fang over Fang in the top lane, and Anti is going to get another freeze. Props to Red for getting the CS lead so high, but Fang over Fang finally paying his top laner back for the early pressure that Utility Monster gave up in that top lane, and now it's going to be Anti getting out to a lead in terms of that CS.
Yeah, and every time that we've seen it, it's been Anti setting up a freeze, but so far, Red's done a really good job of breaking those, never really getting caught in that bad situation. Hold on!
Such a close fight. It's down to the wire, but the blade is back up, and Anti picks up a solo kill. Red really wants to get to this wave and break it, and Anti with that Darkened Blade 3 right on up. Red, no way to fight back. That Unstoppable Force just got burned by Fang over Fang, and there's nothing he can do.
I heard a really interesting tidbit about Aatrox earlier this year, and it's that Aatrox top lane is like a poke champion, and you just see that little bit of poke coming through from Anti, and it hits Red, and then it hits Red again, and Red gets too aggressive, gets caught out, and
oh man,
the rocket grabs an angle there.
They see Jeff go, rocket grab comes out, not gonna quite, but Nocturne's going all the way in on the Lure, forced to flash out, but the ultimate traps Utility Monster under tower. Really expecting that hook to land from Blitzcrank and gets punished for it.
They overcommit on that. There was time to know that that Blitzcrank hook
Flash
did not
forward,
hit.
does not find anything. Missed opportunity for Brian Sang. That's, you know, Mr. Electric has now missed 2 hooks, but prior to that was the shining light on this UV squad so far.
Yeah, and you know what? That's what you're saving that flash for is Lure. He's got it available, able to take the Nocturne with him under the turret, find that ulti. I'm very surprised that there was no spell shield. I don't know if that was preemptively burned by the duo for SLR there, but that's 2 kills now on Varus, and that champion is going to scale up so fast. And one of the big things with Varus is how tanky he can become, because you don't need to build quite as many damage items with this on-hit build. And it is, you know, neither team is really comfortable with this setup right now. I think we're 1 skirmish away from really hitting a breaking point of who's going to decide the next 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that Utility Monster doesn't wait for Galio's pressure to come in with that grand entrance. Really would change the tide in terms of how it's affecting the map. And those 2 ultimates synergize so well together. I'm really surprised to see YUBI not coordinating those 2 ability cooldowns, as now it's going to be another full minute until they have the opportunity.
Yeah, it feels like Civlock's been really locked down in this mid lane so far. We saw it earlier with the Scuttle Crab play. We see it again now with YUBI trying to make a play in the bot lane. I can't tell if they're trying to not overcommit resources or if Pure Llama is doing just such a good job of keeping the roamer there. But now we're going to finally see this Galio break out onto the map and maybe look towards the top side right now. Just going to get some vision. But with Dragon on the map, I don't really feel like top lane can be where you want to look at. There's TP available for this Aatrox. I feel like SLR could just lock down this first Dragon.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for SLR to move towards the Dragon right now. Fang over Fang is on that side of the map. Bot lane, I believe, is pushing away from the side of SLR, but Tristana is so good at pushing that back. Gonna have to see Pure Llama setting up defensive vision for it, and I don't think they're gonna go to it right away, and I'm surprised.
Yeah, I think it's just playing for patience right now. I think SLR has a good understanding that, you know, item breakpoints are going to be their way into this game. Neither of these 2 junglers should know. No, there's definitely knowledge that Fang over Fang is here. The ulti gets burnt.
Let's go.
Fat finger there from Fang over Fang. But
Sometimes you just want to bounce. Sometimes
they
you just want to
don't know that the Galio is on the way. They don't know that the Nocturne is right here, and they're
Now
walking into a 4v3.
Strikes are down.
Is there going to be a hook from Brian saying, who does he want? They find Utility Monster. This
Crab
is
does-
just very narrow.
Crab critically goes over to Utility Monster. That's going to give those global ultimates a free angle into the pit if they want it, but Jeff God Gamer all the way back in base is a clear signal that YUBI are perfectly fine to give this one up early. And I understand, but it feels like a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're aiming to trade that for, because normally if you're gonna choose to not contest the dragon right there, you want to play for something else. But
Crabbers,
utility,
baby.
Utility Monster's on the wrong side of the map to try and make a play top lane. The Rift Herald's already been taken. Now it's going to crash into this mid turret. SLR seems to just be running around the map and getting everything, and they are getting a small lead. As there's a fight now in the bots. Like, Jeff's in the wrong spot.
Multiple ults get burned. Luru taken low, but the bailout's there to save him. Picking up the kill on a Jeff God Gamer. Brian Sang and a pack of minions. Piercing Arrow picks that one up. And the bot lane strikes back from SLR.
And this is the dueling potential that Renata gives you, because the buff is small, but the fact that you get to take the trade a little bit longer, but it's only one-sided, is really where the value of that bailout comes through. Tef does a great job of keeping this Blitzcrank away and really neuters the effectiveness that Brian Sang can have in this fight. And because of the bailout here, Lurug is happy to just stand here and auto-attack. Jeff God Gamer has to commit everything, but you have to break through that health bar 1.5 times, and a great piercing arrow to get that kill on the top side. Oh, no, kill, no.
Unstoppable Force once again burned away from Red, not finding any opportunities to make some noise in this game so far. Now, Malphite's strongest point is never the early phases of the game, but that critical ultimate has been on cooldown this whole time. Sibylok winning a pretty major trade on the Pure Lava, and Utility Monster wants to finish, flies in with the shield, Flash will secure, out just in time to not die to that tower.
It's a good opportunistic play right there from Utility Monster. Was just at those rafters and saw the potential. You know, there's no health bar left. And YUBI kind of needs to be going for those. They have these globals. They need to try and get this Galio unlocked and get them towards that bot side, because Red is doing a great job of keeping this Malphite in the game. And that's really all you have to do as Malphite right now. And then show up for the 5v5s, force that Aatrox out of the side lanes. Brian Sang looking for something in the top lane right now. I don't know if this is what YUBI needs to be doing, but they need that Tristana to be ahead. They need Jeff to be getting onto an item and a half right now, really start getting towards the Phantom Dancer, or, you know, kind of depends on what he wants to look at, but I don't know if they're totally comfortable trying to play into this bot lane, because Renata's already making it so difficult to find kills.
I think it's very telling that Galio hasn't ulted yet this game.
Yeah.
Not getting any way to get this Galio onto the map. Pure Llama has done a great job at keeping that Galio stuck in lane. And now, Sibylok trying to invade for some aggressive vision, try and enable a play for bot now that Brian Sang is back in the area, but the wave's now under their tower, and it's just really tough to get involved. And you just still have to wait for that Paranoia cooldown to come off. It was just used to secure that kill in the mid lane.
Yeah, we just see more of anti-bullying right away from these minions. Now, Anti is going to go for the Gore Drinker build. So they've talked to me about this, and they feel like that is the build for team fighting. Not to go for the Eclipse, just to go for that Gore Drinker, be a big frontliner. And you know what? At the end of the day, comfort is going to matter a lot more than statistical prowess.
Brian Sang, his comfort is in the enemy space. Lou getting dropped early. Both ADCs trade, but it's Fang over Fang here to force Brian to flash away. Stretching strike comes out, doesn't quite land. And the hostile takeover sends Blitz back in, but not quite ready for that one. So, little overzealous on the ultimate usage, but actually, who do you favor in the 1-for-1? Because on the one hand, Jeff God Gamer was behind. On the other hand, they lose a pretty critical wave.
100% it goes to Luru there. Obviously, giving that shutdown over isn't great, but it goes to the Blitzcrank, so that's totally fine. And it's the wave that Jeff misses out on that's really going to start to cost him right now. Already down a level to this Varus. The Renata's been able to find roams, get out of lane, create pressure around the map. And Brian hasn't really been allowed to be unlocked. And this is the problem that I have with Tristana. I've talked to you about this. I've talked to a lot of people about this. Is you cannot manipulate your wave. You always have to push. It's the only option that Tristana is given in the laning phase, and if you're not strong enough to always be creating pressure, you're a massive liability. And right now, Jeff has not been able to get the help that he needs to just hit that plateau, know that he can win the 1v1s, know that they can win the 2v2s, and now YUBI's caught where they really need to start getting pressure around the map, start getting Civillock out of lane, but this Tristana hasn't snowballed yet, and it's a small goal difference right now, but it's really uncomfortable to play this right now for Jeff.
40 seconds left until the next dragon spawns. 1,000 gold separates these two teams, and I have to imagine we're going to see a Galio ult before or directly after that Drake spawns. It is time for Galio to get involved in this game.
The Night Harvester as the pickup there for the Galio is a little bit unorthodox. I imagine that is something to do with statistical analysis. YUBI is known for their itemization.
It's actually a pretty decent alternative to the Protobelt because even though because the arguments for Protobelt are the magic penetration and having an active that's better than the move speed and the poke, but Galio, if you land your heroic, your Justice Punch, you get a guaranteed taunt with Night Harvester. Brian's saying not quite going to find it. And then also, the ability haste is maybe a little more helpful to you than the magic penetration, but Brian's saying is now the one getting penetrated by magic, forced to run away. And now
here we go.
Paranoia comes down, they try and find Luru. The Grand Entrance comes in and taunt lands on 2, but Anti is untouched and takes down Utility Monster. We're scrapping in the top side. Fang and Tef are low. Jeff God Gamer barely escaping danger, free firing over the wall, but Anti and Pure Llama do so much damage, and they're still at full health. Red's gonna have to try and run away, but there's nowhere for this mountain to go. Fang over top, hits him with a stretching strike. They are going to leave the Malphite 2 walk away. Fight is won for SLR.
Yeah, and it is a massive recovery play from Jeff God Gamer jumping over the front of that fight to actually give YUBI a window to turn that somewhat, gets out of there alive. The initial pick onto the Varus is so big, but it's just the strength of these champions at one item. Aatrox, Syndra, Varus, all done their first items across the board. They're happy to take this team fight, and the power of having this much damage built into your composition as opposed to just playing for this tanky engage style that YUBI has caught themselves in with this draft. When you're low on items, this is going to matter so much, no matter what the health bars are low. So cram on as much damage as possible, and YUBI does an amazing job making that fight look as good as it did, but that one slated SLR start to finish.
For sure, and it's been Utility Monster kind of just being overzealous on these engages. You have a Malphite, you have a Blitzcrank, and they need to be the ones starting it up. You layer over the top and cause chaos, but going in first, it's a good pick on the Luru, but it's not enough with how far ahead the Aatrox is.
Yeah, and I think that was probably a little bit undervalued right now as they're sitting with 4 people towards this top side. Now, they do have a way in onto Anti. Anti's probably going to have a check at this Rift Herald. They know what's going on. They want to fight it.
Whirlwinder is popped, Anti face tanking too, but the flash stretching strikes out from Fang over Fang is massive, and YUBI's hopes are dashed instantly. What a play from the Zac.
Oh, great reaction from SLR to get there right on time, and that's 3 kills picked up right there. I imagine Tef's going to be all right, taken very low.
Does go down. The Aftershock proc ends up getting in there for that last bit of needed damage to take out Tef, and it is a successful pick. 1 versus 4 despite all odds. Well played from Brian Sang to make it happen.
I had no faith that kill was going to come through, but the Galio has enough damage, I suppose, but that's still mid lane getting opened up for SLR. They're very happy with that. Didn't have to burn that Rift Herald. Top lane tower is going to follow shortly after, and we're lots of time away from this Dragon coming out. I don't imagine that we're going to see a Baron take this early on, not 5v5 anyway, and they're looking for a pick.
Here comes Paranoia. Luru once again, but Scatter the Weak was going to save the bars for now. Tower picks up Utility Monster, and Luru this down to the wire, testing all of the limits, survives and gets a double kill.
Oh, as I was saying about no Barons in the 5v5, well, they've got 2 people off the map right now. It might be a play for them to look towards that worm. spawning in 8 seconds. I don't know if they want to look for it quite yet. Just going to look for a little bit more map pressure, but that's still Utility Monster extending, like you were saying, trying to find some way back into this game. They know they're on a timer, and it's continued group play from SLR. They seem to always be there, and this is going to have to be the ultimate burnt out of red. They can start to pressure around this Baron now. Their carries are so strong. YUBI needs to find a pick, but they have the Blitzcrank to do it with. They might not have him for long.
Fang over Fang is starting us up. Not much damage on the Zac so far, but nice chunk taken out of Brian Singh's health bar, and that area of the jungle successfully controlled. Anti not being able to find Red, but Red hasn't had a chance to use that unstoppable force. I think it was only in one fight this game so far, and it's the same fight that's Galio ult is coming in, and SLR still crushed it. YUBI are going to have to do more than just layering their abilities, and that's where their composition starts to fall apart. That's what we said in draft. They really need to get out to the races with this Tristana and have a great layering of their abilities to destroy a fight, but it hasn't been there so far.
Yeah, I feel like you almost have to look for an enchanter with this type of composition, but Brian has been able to make that Blitzcrank look very good, especially in the laning phase, and we're really waiting for that big rocket grab to come through. They're doing a good job of keeping vision control in their own jungle, which is a fantastic first step to trying to make the comebacks happen. They're still collecting these sideways. We've seen YUBI find really good fights like this, even from this far behind. So SLR definitely still needs to have their wits about them. We're a minute off of this dragon. I feel like YUBI just gives that up, tries to play for some pressure, try to get a turret somewhere else on the map. They have that Rift Herald, so they can start to look to get a little bit of gold from elsewhere right now, but they cannot fight SLR.
It's so tough because YUBI actually have all of their resources available to them. So it's kind of a, if not now, when, but Civillock trying to find an angle in their early vision is going to get forced out, not going over quite yet. And YUBI are a little indecisive about what they want to do about this. They're trying to get vision control. They're securing the mid lane push, and they're bringing Red over to the river. But now the Rift Herald is going to be summoned, and that puts a lot of pressure down.
Yeah, I feel like they just want the trinket availability from the Nocturne right now. Zac's looking at 4. Here's the play.
Big hostile takeover finds 2. Paranoia on top, trying to sway Utility Monster in the back line. Here's the grand entrance. It finds 3. And Tef goes down first, but Lure is alive with the bailout, and Anti in the middle of 4 finds so much damage with the Gore Drinker combined with the Darkened Blade. And now it's just a matter of time until Aatrox can finish it off. But all the members of YUBI are going to get away on less than a quarter of their HP. Nonetheless, a fight won for SLR again.
That's a 2-for-1 in favor of YUBI right there. YUBI picks up 2 kills. They're happy with that. They get the shutdown onto Luru. They're going to give up the dragon, but that is 2 turrets down in the mid lane. And I was talking about how they can make plays like this from behind. That gold deficit has shrunk by like 50% just off of that one play. And though that is sole point to SLR, that is a sign of life from YUBI that we really haven't seen this whole game. But we see how their comp just shuts off as soon as they lose Jeff God Gamer. They need to play defense for that Tristana if they want to see that kind of success again.
Both teams trying to protect the precedent in this one, but Civillock, no, barely getting out of the way of the handshake. Tef no longer has that available. Civillock is going to get sucked back in, but Anti 2v4 in the middle of the enemy team. The bailout's going to come down. World Ender trying to get to that Civillock, but it doesn't quite go through, and now Tef has to walk away. Another massive shutdown picked up for YUBI, and all of a sudden the gold is close.
We were looking at 5.5k less than 2 minutes ago. This game has gotten so close so fast. We're down to 1.5. And the deficit is definitely still it's definitely more in SLR's favor. They've got a lot more gold on their carries. But if you can put a good front line, it's not a bad idea. But Brian Sang, do you know how much fire you're playing with right now? Oh, but it's the risky place that you have to look for. They do have the paranoia to try and break stuff up need be, but it looks like SLR wants to try and play around this dragon. They do have that TP for the Aatrox.
In my experience, every Blitzcrank game has 2 to 3 hooks that you're like, man, I'm really glad I missed that. Brian Sang counting himself lucky right there. Doesn't find more trouble than he's ready for. And they're able to get out just fine. Now, SLR going to take vision control. Topside river looking towards that Baron. But it's going to be really hard for either team to break into it. UB have actually caught up so far, and their composition is so powerful at breaking the choke point and committing onto a target that it's really hard for SLR to ever be the first ones to commit to an objective without like really, really solid vision on the other side of the pit.
Yeah, I want to say that the way that Red has been consistently throwing himself into those side lanes and forcing Anti to move over, so then SLR doesn't have 5 people to try and contest this. They can't TP with the Paranoia down, so there's a way to keep that side lane in their favor, at least for a few seconds. Anti's looking for an option here, as it does look like SLR wants to make the start. They know that they have full vision control, so they're going to look towards this Baron. YUBI has to face check it. They've got the control ward in place. What's the HP on the Baron right now? 6k. Does SLR just want to rush this right now? Look at Civillock on the flank, though. There's the TP being burnt out of both of them. They're looking for the 5-5. There's the hook.
Brian saying, finds tap early, instantly pop, and finally YUBI find the fight they waited for. They pop. All the damage dealers on the side of SLR against Anti. 1 versus 5, not going to get it done. And YUBI finally put it together. They layer their abilities on top of all the carries. And the bailout just never comes out.
Does it happen? It's a 5-for-0 at the Baron. YUBI has made this recovery with so much speed. Luru once again has nowhere good to go, and they find a way in onto 3. An enormous engage from Red and Utility Monster. We talked about how these guys can play as a team, and they show it in stride right there. No need to protect the Tristana when there's no damage coming out. Triple kill for Civillock. The Baron gets cleaned up, and YUBI is back on top.
I feel like this is such a minor nitpick thing, but I feel like when Red walks away in that side lane while your team is doing Baron, you know exactly what he's going to do. Yeah. And while Anti was ready with the counter teleport, I think you just got to go under the tower and stop him. Your team should win the 4v4.
Yeah, and it's difficult because you have to be playing for that TP, and to an extent, you're thinking, I need to get that TP in before the Paranoia comes out, right? So it's a rush. You need to react to it. You need to be on the ball. You need to be there quick. And Anti is there early, but it's the lack of vision control in their own jungle, funnily enough, that costs SLR so heavily there. And because they had put themselves onto that dragon, they don't make the engage immediately onto Civillock, which is what I was expecting. They get themselves caught out. It's a really big team fight win for YUBI. They're up just shy of 3k gold now. They can push this Baron buff. It could be even more, but this Varus is still going to roll through on those items. That Wit's End's going to be a really big pickup. There's no shortage of damage on the side of SLR, so one team fight could still create a big swing right now, but it looks like it's just going to be a little bit more gold in the pocket of YUBI as they're going to pick up Fang over Fang and look for this mid turret.
Also opens up the as an opportunity. It gives YUBI plenty of time to get really well set up finally for an objective. They haven't had the ability to do that. Now Tab might be caught out. Posturelli, as what Brian Sang says, nope, get back here. Paranoia for good measure.
Anti
secure that one, but now Anti walking in, biting off maybe more than they can chew, but the unstoppable force is flashed. And Anti gets to live, but now it's so tough to regain control of this jungle. You're walking in blind, you have no support. It's so tough, and Anti just to try and get the side wave out. It's not simple.
You just play gold collection right now, obviously, because you have those 3 dragons in pocket. You don't have to worry about a soul going over, so they're timing out their own Baron right now. SLR's comfortable with that. They're going to wait on their respawn timers, try and look for a pick right now onto Civillock. They have to know that YUBI is in the wings right now. Pure Llama's in a rough position. Anti doesn't care, though. Just looking for this engage right now. 1 versus 4, effectively, cut off from the rest of his team.
Trying to get out of there, Fang over Fang goes in, does not find anyone. Anti with a fantastic disengaging Darkened Blade, goes back in, trades 1 for 1. Big Mars ultimate sets up a nice arrow. It doesn't do that much with the build, and now Jeff God Gamer waiting in the wings for their opportunity to get reset. It's not going to come through just yet, though. You'd be more than content to just use this Baron buff to siege.
Lack of going directly into the Bork instead of the Rage Blade is very different to me for Varus. That's not what I personally build. Oh, going in.
Here comes Paranoia. The entrance on top. It's going to find Fang over Fang is in a lot of trouble. The utility monster. Prompt by Unleashed Power. But
Luru's in a great spot.
Red is going to find him under tower. Massive hostile takeover though. And Civillock gets Red down to minuscule amounts of HP. Luru wants to pick it up so bad. Going to probably fire off 1 more arrow. No. Giving up on the chase. Overall, I believe that's 3 for 3 as these teams just go back and forth.
I am always looking at the X factor there for SLR, which is Luru. I've talked about it before the game. Haven't really seen it so far because there's been so much engage, but they don't take the engage onto this forest, and Luru is pixel perfect around these skill shots coming out, and he finds so much additional damage. He kites the entire fight back and then brings it back the other way, and the only reason that SLR is not looking at Game 2 draft right now is because Luru makes a huge play in that team fight.
Yeah, Luru, it's just been electric this whole game. Has been playing so well. It's hard to stay alive into the composition that YUBI's put together, and there's definitely been times where they've been taken out quite early, and those are the fights that look really favorable for YUBI. But when Luru gets that distance when the initial gauge isn't on top of them, they're able to do so much and completely change the way the fight goes.
And it's going to force YUBI to change how they're looking at fights, because they've just seen that happen. They watched it get cleaned up, and the mixture of Tef and Luru is able to just kite back the entirety of everything that YUBI had to throw at them. And if they're going to burn that engage, they're going to take it in onto Fang over Fang, onto Anti, leave Luru available. This is something that I have to consider is because there's so many threats, they really need to make their fights work. That big team fight win was not a miracle, but probably the perfect fight. That is what YUBI wants time and time again, is Malphite ult into Galio ult, into as much AoE as they can stack on top of them. You're not going to get that every time, so where can they find their engages? And right now we're sitting a minute 30 off of the Baron. Soul is not in the picture right now for YUBI, so they don't really want to play for the Dragon if they don't have to. So we could see this game get decided very soon.
And Utility Monster wants to decide it now. Goes in onto Lure. Multiple CCs land. Lure not able to get to move, but now has an opportunity. Free firing now. Unleash power, finds Civillock, and now Utility Monster is caught out. Red's looking for an angle in. Finds 3, but it's not quite enough. It's now going over. Jeff God Gamer gets the reset. They're trying to finish off Bang over Bang. There's 3 members versus 3 members with the health bars. Favor YUBI as Jeff God Gamer pulls forward. Flash Buster shot is successfully stopped. Llama tries to block, isn't able to do so. Trades back though, and the bailout keeps Varus alive for so long. It's now Red versus Tef and Pure Llama, and Red is so hard to take down, but there's nothing you can get. Pure Llama though wants to find more, but knows can't chew through that mountain. It's another nail-biter fight. Barely goes the way of SLR.
That fight has so much to unpack in it. The initial damage onto Luru, they can't find the kill, and Luru's unable to rejoin because of that health bar deficit. But this is, again, teams feeling really comfortable kiting each other back. This little tiny overextension from Anti gets them caught out when Red rejoins the fight, and Red finds another massive unstoppable force onto 3. Luru stays alive for so long, but can't walk up to try and fight this. And the real turning play was this flash forward from Jeff God Gamer, tries to find the ulti. It's a great stopwatch out of Luru, and somehow Tef is not, or Pure Llama does not block that hook, wasn't looking at his ADC, and the damage comes back the other way though, because Luru, it deals so much damage right now. Pure Llama's so huge right now, but there's no way to crack this Malphite, and that's where a lot of YUBI's gold is sitting right now, is with that Malphite. This game is just consistently on a knife's edge.
YUBI have done such a good job applying pressure and, wresting the gold lead back into their control. It's still tough to win from this position, though. Even a Baron buff doesn't guarantee anything. Your opponent's on Soul Point, 1 botch Dragon Fight's going to put that powerful boon in SLR's hands, and it's going to have to be immaculate objective play to hang on to what they have.
And what do you even focus on right now? The Baron's already up. YUBI simultaneously does not want this dragon and does not want SLR to get this dragon. So they have to commit themselves to whichever side of the map they think they need, right? If you give away the soul, then if you trade that for Baron, then you only have 2 minutes realistically to win the game, right? That is your advantage state. It's not long. You have to either do that or stall out till Elder. And I don't know if you can do that with how much damage SLR has already got. The Zhonya's has been picked up from Lure. I was not expecting that, but that's a really good pickup to keep this forest safe, and he really needs that. Zhonya's is also done for the Sindra. So this composition is getting more staying power from SLR, and the team fights are going to get harder and harder and harder. This Tristana, we talked about her all game, but she needs to be massive, and Jeff God Gamer has turned up so far. It looks like it's going to be Dragon for Baron. YUBI, do you want that?
I'm not sure what YUBI wants to do. They're going to answer it for now. They saw the members of SLR on that control ward, and now they're bringing up. SLR know that they're on the way, but they're trying to burn it down. 3,000 Paranoia comes out. Utility Monster looking for an angle. And the does go on. Unstoppable Force is in from Reddit finds 2, and the entrance kills Tech. And now Anti, trying to be a hero on the backside of the play, as Luru is in that Zanya's, and it's going to be just enough to keep him alive, long enough to gun down the remaining members of YUBI. What a massive Zanya's that was! And Anti, with the heroics, cleaning up the members of YUBI. The game is once again in SLR's hands as they get the Baron and the Dragon too.
We had to mention those stasises before the fight starts. This is now going to be soul picked up for certain here from SLR. They keep 3 of those Baron buffs, and it's Anti running amok on the backline of YUBI that Tristana doesn't get to see the first kill of that fight because the Aatrox is there in the backline doing so much damage. There's 2 damage items for this Aatrox, and happy to take this 1v1 on Brian Sang, and finds the kill. That's a Baron buff gone. That's a big kill for Brian Sang.
Anti really feeling himself right there. Just wants to be big Aatrox going in, killing the Blitzcrank. Anti maybe wishing he had the clips right about now for that lethal burst, but I don't think that costs SLR too much. It is going to be really awkward when they try and split up the map. I think it means that Pure Llama is going to have to be the one separated, and that's not exactly what they wanted to do, but you're going to have to make it work.
The opportunity to just quote Joshi here and just say that Anti makes plays, and half the time they work, and half the time they do not work. And we just saw a little bit of a dice roll there. There's the joke about 3-6-9, where either rolls a 3, 6, or a 9, right? I feel like Anti could very comfortably change to like 2-8. Anti 2-8, where it's like it's a 50-50 dice roll. You never know what you're getting, but sometimes there's massive plays, sometimes there's random hints under turret, and both of the times you get to hear limit testing. But how does SLR play this? This game has just consistently been confusing, and imagine that after 35 minutes, we've seen this game go decisively into SLR's hands, decisively back to YUBI, and we're split by 100 gold.
It's going to be that Infernal Soul. The burst damage going to come out from every piercing arrow, from every Scat of the Week, from every darkened blade. That is what SLR is looking to do in order to secure this game. YUBI, though, going to play in the vision pocket. Utility Monster trying to find an angle on the Luru, who flashes away, throws the R back in, and Red is trying to lock up the Boris as Jeff got 3 fires. Bangalore Fang taken very low, but Utility Monster's already dead. Civillock trying to play hero as Anti plays the villain in the backline. Make a Jeff God Gamer run away, but the fight's already over. Brian Sank says no. Anti's back in there, going to die. Bailout doesn't save them, but that gives Fang the opportunity to pick up Jeff God Gamer, and that is going to end the game.
Surely, right? The death timers are so long at this point. Utility Monster isn't going to be on the map forever now, and this is what we were talking about. They don't have the damage because even though the Malphite is sitting there tanking everything that SLR has for a good 5+ seconds, Tristana cannot break through the Aatrox, can't break through the Zac. There's nobody there to help her out, and though there's so many dive options going into that backline trying to make Luru and Pure Llama's life hard, it's not going to be enough. SLR's going to walk through, they're going to crack these Nexus turrets, and go to Game 2 up 1-0 in the finals.
Paranoia to try and finish it off is for not Luru. Monster performance, 16-5 on the Varus in this one, and that's a pick that I don't think YUBI are going to want to play into again.
It's the best ADC in the game, on the best ADC in the tournament. I think that Luru is going to show off his stuff quite supremely, and deserves it, really. I think that was an unbelievable game out of the bot lane for SLR. I think that Tef, though the score looks pretty bad, I think Tef had a huge game there, and we really got to look at that mid-jungle duo. We talked it up in the early game. Utility Monster 2-10-14 does not look comfortable playing on that Nocturne. Civillock had a good game, but just wasn't able to make the difference that they really needed in those early stages. So YUBI needs to adapt their composition to give Jeff God Gamer more help, because there were signs of life, but their composition just fell through.
Yeah, it didn't seem like YUBI knew what to do when their engage needs to be read, or Brian saying. It was Utility Monster always being the one pulling the trigger, and they found some angles on the Luru, but once that defensive item gets picked up, that option doesn't work anymore. You have to have a more reliable, not single target engage. SLR's composition able to scatter before Galio ever gets there, and so they have to be CC. And that's what you drafted a Malphite to do, and it was a little shocking that that's not what they played around to, because Red had an absolutely monster performance on that Malphite.
Yeah, no, we saw some strengths, we saw some weaknesses. YUBI needs to make the adaptation. This is what best of fives are for. We're going to come back to you guys with game number 2. Very short wait till then, so please stick around.
Cause you